Hi everybody, welcome to your February video number 2 in 2019, and I thought I'd pay homage to this Mercury Pisces transit, which we are in now through mid-April. And I really love this Mercury retrograde because it's going to be entraining us to connect with soul. Mercury's that left brain of analytical thought. Neptune in the 12th house of Pisces is all about dimensional connection and awareness. So I thought this was an appropriate topic, and I'm going to discuss some of the dreams that patrons shared with me as well. I spent a lot of time with this in my 30s. I had a radio show every month where I was just taking callers, and I did a lot of speaking on it, which surprised me. Engineers and interesting scientific types would book me for talks. And the reason that I've been so interested in dreams all of my life is because as a little girl, I had pretty prolific dreams. And so I started keeping a dream journal to understand the language and the different kinds and types of dreams that I was having. So everyone dreams. You know, I used to have a lot of people say, well, I don't dream. And I'm like, well, yes, you do. Barring some physiological issue like sleep apnea or severe mental illness, everyone dreams. On average, 4 to 7 dreams per night. And you're dreaming during the REM cycle. And the first hour of sleep, it may just be 5, 6, 7 minutes of REM. Rapid eye movement. And the longer you're sleeping, the longer the dream cycles within each hour. So 7, 8 hours in, you know, the majority of a 60-minute cycle may be encapsulating REM dreaming. So that's why so many people remember their dreams early in the morning, or they wake up and they seem very much near the surface. And I would also encourage you, for those of you who like to keep track or want to keep track of your dreams, it behooves you to do so before you get out of bed. I used to keep a tape recorder next to my bed and just mumble into it, you know, what I could remember, because once you start moving around and the conscious mind takes over, and you start thinking about your meeting and needing to get this done and that done. So while you can do it, if you can do it while you're still in bed and capture that, and then release it, and you can go back and transcribe, which is the fun part. So the longer you're sleeping, the more you're REMing. And what happens when you go to sleep is that prefrontal cortex shuts down. That's the executive decision-making part of our brain. And, you know, analytical organization and dealing with the external, that goes to sleep. And what really rises up is the limbic system. And the limbic system comes alive. It's pictorial language. That's why dreams are there to psychologically impact you and change you, because the world of pictures is much stronger psychically and psychologically than words if you were dreaming in sentences. So that limbic system is allowed free rein as the left brain, which is kind of about fear, gets out of the way and goes to sleep for the night. So you can learn to work with these. And, you know, there's many types of dreams. In my experience, there are, number one, the emotional venting dreams, where you can safely tell off your boss or significant other. And we need that emotional venting because we can't always express that in civilized society. And our dreams give us a portal and a way of releasing that. And it's also growth dreams too, and fear dreams will be a part of this. The fears that you have, playing those out and looking at those in order to release them, in my view. And I'll go down the negative kind of first, and things like nightmares. You know, we're traveling out in the astral realm, and even physically leaving the body, oftentimes attached by that silver cord, and going out to explore. When people are having nightmares, they're in the lower astral realms where fear lives, in the collective, and also those lower vibrational beings and entities. Those really kind of are real. They're the imbalanced ones that don't go to the light. And so you want to work with yourself before you go to bed at night, especially if you're having nightmares, because dreams are the domain of the subconscious, too. This is Akashic record territory. And the Akashic records are the soul records of all of your lifetimes and incarnations. And the subconscious mind never forgets anything. It just doesn't. It's amazing. It's our mission control. 80–90% of our decisions are actually being driven by the subconscious mind. And I have, especially in business, people are, well, no, we've thought about this. And I'm like, I understand. We often feel something, and then we bring in the rationale behind that. But a lot of our motivations and unconsciousness is that subconscious terrain. So when we're dreaming, that awakens and comes up and interacts. But what you do is, before you go to bed at night, you literally talk to that subconscious mind and, please show me the reason for these nightmares, or I want to face the monster, or I want to understand why I'm having these dreams, because it's an aspect and a facet of yourself that is in motion when you're dreaming and in that state of expression. So you can work with that. And also, giving yourself suggestions that I want to start remembering my dreams. Thank you for helping me to remember my dreams. Thank you for the loving messages that come to me when I'm sleeping, because the other side of that equation is spirits and energies can really get in and work with you when that left brain of fear and third dimensional reality. Third dimension is reactive. That's what we mean by third dimension. It's very judgmental. It's either good or bad or right or wrong. And ascension, what is bandied about so frequently now but very real, is when you're interacting with the fourth and fifth dimensional realms, which takes you out of all of the fear and the drama and takes you into free will and choice and creating through vibration and energy expression. So your spirits can also come in, and your angels and your teachers and your guides, and really work with you. You can wake up in the morning feeling very inspired. My team tells me, don't worry about it. We'll work on it when you're sleeping. When you get out of the way and there's some things to release, or if there's some things that need to be healed, or some anger that needs to be vented, they can go in and really help work and direct that and release it. They also come in to inspire and to provide possibilities and potentialities that are inspiring and that move you. So these are kind of the encouragement dreams and the hero dreams. A lot of people have hero dreams where they go in, dun, da, da, and they save the day. There's Superman or one of the Marvel characters, and they're exhibiting superhuman powers. Part of that dream is to really raise up your co-creative potential and ability, which can feel like magical, especially if we're dealing with the third dimension all the time, which is essentially reacting to our environment. So that's another kind of dream. And also, being mindful of what you watch on television the night before, because that can just come in as something that you're using and running through, and you may assign the characters and play out something. I'm very cognizant of what I give myself to eat, feed myself before I head into a night of sleeping and creating beautiful music, positive messaging. All good things before you go to bed at night is kind of a last suggestion as you're moving into sleep. And then we move into precognitive dreams. And precognitive dreams are fascinating. These are seemingly future events. We can talk about linear time and that kind of construct, but a lot of people are precognitive dreamers. And some clients that I had would be upset because they would have a dream and then it would come true and it would be a negative, in their view, outcome. But I'll assert that precognitive dreams, especially personal in nature, are coming in to emotionally prepare you for an event, not necessarily to give you the power to stop it or to change it, although that is possible as well. But certainly loved ones passing on. Many people have dreams, or they'll wake up in the night with a dream at exactly the same time that their grandparent or their parent or a loved one passed on and transitioned into the other dimension. And I've done that a number of times. I was dreaming about my father's imminent death. I was dreaming about my grandmother. I woke up at a certain time and a white ship was sailing by, and they said that she passed early in the morning. So we have access to information and dimensions and etheric and astral realms that go way beyond our auric field, if you will. And, preparing you emotionally for events. And I'll go to a patron who was speaking about the tsunami. And yes, I did hear a lot of people who are dreaming about the tsunami before it occurred because it's already in place collectively. It's like the scientist Rupert Sheldrake did some wonderful experiments on, crossword puzzles. And the first day out, people were having a tough time with the crossword puzzle. The second day, the next day, after people had solved it, it was like that information was accessed. And you find that with science and inventions around the world, people will be inventing the same thing at the same time. So that makes sense that we would be plugging in to that collective fabric to get information, especially about world events. I started dreaming about 9/11 about 8 months before it happened in 2001. But the dream was about an atomic weapon, which really confused me for years until I started researching the 9/11 data. Dr. Judy Wood and others have put forth very different scenarios about what happened on 9/11, and it did involve radiation and different kind of reasons and energies that happened. Because a month before, and my father accompanied this dream, he had already passed, I did dream about a plane. It was just one plane going over and over on a, island near the water. I was in my pajamas and I was talking to Amy Darling, and I think I've shared this before. It was very profound because I was a headhunter back then, and I was literally on the phone to a pharmacist up in Westchester County. My friend Amy Darling is a pharmacist. It was in the morning, pajamas, island, Manhattan, So that was coming in early because that was such a huge event. And my dream was saying it was going to affect everything. You weren't at harm, you wouldn't be harmed, but it was going to change the global landscape, which it certainly did. And precognitive dreams, I find, it's almost like watching a film up on a screen because I don't have the emotional attachment or connection isn't there. That's where I can tell it's precognitive in nature because I'm not having an emotional reaction. I'm just watching it. But yes, over and over and over, I've spoken with people who have had dreams, especially around natural disasters, earthquakes, big global events that many other people were tying into as well. I had dreamt about Princess Diana passing 2 months before she passed, and that they were getting ready for her. My sister had transitioned, and she came in and said, yes, we know she's coming, and we're all getting ready. We can't wait to meet her. But it was all very kind of positive and celebratory from their point of view. And after 9/11, I was getting a lot of visitations from the people who perished in the towers and in other ways, which was fascinating and nothing that I could corroborate with anyone, obviously. So that's precognitive dreams and being available for that and seeing how you feel. But your dreams work with you as you work with your dreams. And the more you pay attention to them, it's like, oh, she's paying attention to us. You know, the subconscious, your angels and teachers and guides and loved ones in spirit. The Sixth Sense was a great movie with Bruce Willis, where it wasn't until the end and his wife was on the couch sleeping. And he was talking to her, because they can talk to you when that left brain of fear and judgment is at sleep for the night. So there's a beautiful, very reminiscent movie of how that literally happens. And then another type of dream is past life dreams, you know, where we can, and children do this a lot. There was a little boy, there was an interview I was watching, and he was literally drawing out the architecture on the Titanic. He was 6 or 7. And they compared it to the literal structure of the Titanic, and it was spot on. And he was saying, well, I helped build the Titanic. And he could remember this. Children are still in that gateway passage of often remembering past cycles as they're transitioning into this one. And if parents were much more aware of that, we could help them along in fleshing that out and validating and asking questions and encouraging and nurturing that process. And I had a very interesting dream that was shared by another patron where she was looking for her mother in her dream. And she met a woman in her current life, and there was an instant familiarity. And the woman that she met, who is in her 70s, has shared with her that she had an abortion as a young woman. And that she felt that the patron who shared this dream was that baby. And she said that the patron said she stopped having that dream about looking for her mother once she met this woman, and they developed a very strong friendship. They were both musicians, you know, so that familiarity, that kindred soul, that being of that feeling of soul family. And I've seen many interviews with people who have had these experiences as well. So, and then the fact that she stopped having that dream of looking for her mother, but those dreams were preparing her that she was going to be ready and heading towards this experience of meeting this woman who was her mother. And you know, it's interesting when Spirit talks about children and birth and babies, that sometimes the soul changes their mind. So it's no, this was a misdirect. I need to, you know, or you know, the fit isn't right, and an abortion ensues. Another interesting quality about abortion, which obviously is difficult to talk about in our public media now, is that when does the soul actually enter the biology? And friends that I have in the spiritual field, and some of them very well known, you know, they're sharing that, you know, it may not be until just a few moments before the birth. It may be a month, maybe a couple of months before, to get used to the mother's energy and work with the, you know, energetic environment and the biological process, etc. So that makes looking at that whole decision, it gives a little bit of a different flavoring. And, you know, souls that do abort the incarnation say, nope, I got it wrong. I'll be back again, you know, or hold on. And so it's a different perspective on all of that. But past life dreams are very profound in children. Through my 30s, I was extremely active in my dreams, and I was dreaming through a past life, and it was showing me my love of performance, especially as a younger woman when I did a lot of theater and music and acting. And it was an Asian lifetime. And if you notice the Asian artwork, I have a lot of Asian pieces around my house, Asian food. I've always been drawn to that culture. And I was having this series of dreams of being a young boy performing with my family. And I loved it. We were performers and we would travel. And the last series of the dream, I looked up and I saw my face and how old I was. And then that was the last part of that dream that came in to just kind of inform and pull that thread of past cycles into some of the preferences and loves and experiences that I have in this lifetime. So, and Past lives can also bring you information around some of the problems that you're having as well. Relationship dynamics, financial situations, fears. You know, being afraid of heights, being afraid of drowning, being afraid of, you know, specific things. I've also had clients who've gone back into past lives and dreamt about, well, yeah, I drowned and it was a horrific death. But their fear of water shifts after that conscious awareness comes up and into, you know, their clarity. So now I want to talk about, you know, some of the common symbols. And of course, there is a collective energetic around symbols around the world with caveats. For example, take snakes. A lot of people don't like snakes, but a lot of others and different cultures view them as very mystical, powerful, spiritual transformers. So one person dreaming about snakes, and other people really like snakes. See it as a positive. So we have to overlay some of the emotions and beliefs and personal experiences that dreamers have. But animals, you know, snakes can often be speaking about a fear. And I used to have a lot of snake dreams, like, oh, there's a snake up in the road, but it's not going to bite you. And that would say it's not going to strike you. So it's like, okay, you're going to be afraid of something, but you don't need to be. So my subconscious would pull in the snake information as kind of a warning and also preparing me and also soothing me and supporting me into some situation in the third dimensional that I'd be dealing with. Dogs in dreams, often man's best friend. These may be messages about being better to yourself. And this is a universal issue: low self-esteem, self-criticalness, self-judgment. And the hardest time, I just shared this, I have in coaching is, because they lay it out for me, all of the potential and creativity. The hardest time I have is getting through to my client that this is possible and that they're good enough and talented enough. And I've spoken of that before. Dogs, being your own best friend. It can be bringing up matters of a best friend. Butterflies, certainly transformation energy. Flying dreams, eagles, being a bird, which always feels so freeing to us when we can get off the planet and get a broader perspective, and you pay attention to what you were seeing while you were flying. And sometimes you're not a bird, you're just flying, and you're getting a broader perspective of your life and where you want to head and how you want to direct that. Other common symbols are weather, you know, tornadoes. Tornadoes are often violent mental activity, or someone who is in a state of circular negative thinking, and they need to get pulled out of it, or they need to let go of it and do something different, or they're in an environment, work environment, family environment, personal environment, where there is just some really not helpful thoughts, words, communications, and thought processes. Hurricanes, strong emotions. You know, strong emotions with the mind involved. Hurricanes coming in. This can be something that's happening in your life: a death, a change, a divorce, a job change. Snow is an interesting symbol in dreams because snow will often speak to frozen emotions. And we freeze our emotions often when there's some trauma, or we don't have time to process something, or we don't feel strong enough to process something. So skiing or dealing with snow can be moving through some cold emotional terrain. And then, of course, sunshine and beautiful weather is signifying a positive growth situation. Cars are another interesting symbol. There's so many metaphors for cars. I was in my car, but I ran out of gas. And then I'll ask, well, how are you feeling? I feel exhausted, or I'm in a dead-end job. The car is a metaphor for how we're moving through our life. And if we run out of gas and you're either in a situation that is not providing any forward thrust, evolution, and growth, or you're tired and you need to slow down because illness could ensue. But, being out of gas, having the car parked in the garage, I'm taking some time out, or I'm hiding this avenue from the public. It's not something that I've given outward expression to. Or I'm driving too fast, slow down, smell the roses. Even the color of the cars can have a bearing. Clothing is very symbolic in dreams. Being naked is a very common dream for people at different stages in their life. I was giving a talk to ExxonMobil. Yes, I know, crazy. And a woman was sharing, she was having dreams of being naked. And when these dreams start is important. I'm like, when did you start having this dream? She said, when my husband died. Because clothes are often our identity. And a part of her identity, being married to her husband, being in partnership, the life that they shared, she now felt stripped of that. And laid bare and naked and vulnerable. And we can also dream of that when we are going through some real life transitions. Old clothes are another example of, feeling like life has become rote, routine, non-life-giving, no life force attached to it. And this can be job, relationship, family, new clothes, getting some new clothes, or clothes that don't fit me, or clothes that I don't like wearing. This can certainly be speaking to your outer persona and reputation is not aligned with your inner sense of self and identity, and that there's a mismatch and there's some discomfort, or you're feeling like you have to don some clothes in order to fit in that isn't really expressing your authentic self. Shoes are another. My shoes are too tight. And shoes are another, it's the mobile, how we're moving through our world. And again, that you've outgrown a pair of shoes, or I'm wearing my aunt's shoes. They're not really my shoes. It can be qualities about an aunt or another person in your life. And this leads us to projection. We'll put people in our life with often an exaggerated personality quality. For example, if you have an uncle who is a know-it-all or really judgmental or busybody or whatever, and he's in your dream, we'll often assign negative qualities of ourselves to someone else in our dream. And I always found that hilarious. It's kind of a gentle way for your subconscious to be bringing up this topic like, gee, you're being really judgmental, and maybe you want to take a look at that. And often it's the people in our early childhood, because those imprints run so deep, because everything's so new in this next cycle, in this next incarnation. So I call that projection portrayal, where we bring someone in with a negative quality that's often exaggerated. And we might want to take a look at if that's maybe a side of ourselves that is pointing out where we're getting out of balance or out of harmony. And then school is another very common dream symbol. Being on the school bus, or needing to get on the school bus, traveling to a new lesson, a new life lesson, a new growth pattern, or being in a classroom with others. I remember this one client's dream. She was getting ready to take a test, and she was running, looking for classroom, 14 was the number of the classroom. And there was 13, there was 15, and she couldn't get, it was a circular school, and she was running around the halls, and she couldn't get to classroom 14. So the feeling of, I'm not getting information that I need, or I don't have the skills, or, often it's a feeling not feeling qualified in some area of your life, a job that you took, or a relationship that's challenging you, or something of that nature. So school buses and taking tests and classrooms will often show up when we are feeling challenged in some life circumstance. And then numbers. I'll wrap this up with numbers, because numbers can often come in to give time frames. It depends on your relationship with numbers, right? Number ones are initiating. 2 is often about partnership. 3 is communication and livelihood. 4 is often about stability. 5 is the need for change. 6, family. 7, spirit and intellect. 8 can often be about the soul's infinite journey. And 8 often has a vibration to money and wealth and finances. And then 9 is the proverbial old soul who's just shown up here to be of service to others. They don't really have a lot of karma to work through, but 9 is also about completions and endings too, like you're finishing up something, a cycle in your life. So, but it can also be, you know, a month or date, day, month, year, that kind of thing. So paying attention to numbers in your dreams can be really fascinating as well. So I hope you found this interesting. Wishing you a lovely February, and I'll speak with you again during the Mercury retrograde Pisces. Be well, everybody, and much love to you.